It's October 21st, 2024. I'd like to welcome everybody to the LaGrange Board of Adjustments meeting for this day. We have one item on the docket this morning, LG 24-004, about a conditional use permit. If I could have everybody turn their cell phones down, off, buzz them, whatever. And then everybody that may speak, I'd like you please stand, raise your hand, and Christy will swear everybody in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, Ryan. Please note that Mr. Early just walked in. Mr. Early is slightly delayed.
I'm always early, even if I'm late.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you can.
Docket LG-24-004, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a proposed short-term rental located at 109 South Walnut Avenue, LaGrange.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Edgar. Ryan Fisher, Director with Oldham County Planning. So as she stated, this is for a conditional use permit for a short-term rental located at 109 South Walnut Avenue, here in the heart of LaGrange. Here is a picture of the property that we will be looking at. This is back from our zoning map amendment that we went through, a picture that was taken then. So this is located now in a CN commercial neighborhood district. So we went through the city of LaGrange, and you'll see that here in a second to go through this zoning change, which brings us here today for the conditional use permit. Its land use is currently residential and sits on 0.22 acres of property. No previous site history, case history, actually. Don't disregard that slide I just had. So we posted this to the county website on the 27th of September. Our adjoining property owner notices were mailed on the 11th of October, and it did appear in the Oldham Era on the 10th. So now we get into the site history. So the Oldham County Planning Commission back on July 23rd, 2024, heard a zoning map amendment in the case PZ 24-011 for this property. And the proposal was to change the zoning from R4 residential to CN, which is our commercial neighborhood zoning district, for future use as a short-term rental and museum. A motion was made to recommend that approval to the city of LaGrange, and that was approved on a vote of 12-0. And then on October 7th, we went to the city of LaGrange, who approved that zoning change, and that motion was unanimously approved. Obviously, those meeting minutes haven't been finalized until the early November meeting, but there was really nothing to note in that case. And just to give a little bit of backstory, this applicant came in probably a good 8 months ago and met with us. And we talked about what potential zoning change could be because it was a non-owner occupied, and so of course it had to be within commercial or office zoning area. So kind of pointed them in the direction of the commercial neighborhood because our Oldham County zoning regulations, CN allows for a permitted use to be a short-term rental, a non-owner occupied. Well, it wasn't until after I'd made that statement that we realized City of LaGrange's ordinances are a little bit different, and CN actually requires a conditional use permit. So here we are today before you. So we've been through I think they've been through every board the county and the city have to offer now. So here is the property in question at the corner of Washington and Walnut, showing the zoning has been changed to CN on that corner property. So the applicant's requesting the conditional use permit for that non-owner occupied short-term rental property. That property does reside within the city of LaGrange, thus that's why we're before you all. And their short-term rental regulations are governed under ordinance number 20, series 2023, that were approved in January of this year. That was included in your staff packet as well for you to note if you do have to reference that at any time. In Section B of that ordinance, a short-term rental property in zoning CN does require a conditional use permit through the appropriate Board of Adjustment. So as I was saying, that's a little bit different than what our county regulations do with that one particular zoning area. And that's whenever it's used as either an owner-occupied or non-owner-occupied within that CN. They do have to come here before you all to get a conditional use permit. And here is that chart that's included in that regulation showing a conditional use permit in the CN zoning area. Section A of the definition states that a non-owner occupied short-term rental as the owner of record whose primary residence is not located on the same lot or immediately adjacent lot of the short-term rental. And according to those Grange regulations, a non-owner occupied host may be eligible for a conditional use permit only if the owner currently resides within the county or is within 25 miles of the short-term rental property. And you can see that highlighted on the bottom of this, showing that rule as well. So the applicant's primary residence is at 1219 Weeble Road in Crestwood, which is obviously within the county and is around 9 miles away from the proposed short-term rental. So here is just a Google Maps showing where their property is located, as well as where the short-term rental property is located up here at the top. So clearly meets both of those regulations. The proposed short-term rental is a single-story, 3-bedroom residence, and will have a maximum occupancy of 10 individuals, and that's based off of pretty much the way I look at it. It's not worded this way, but it's 2 occupants per bedroom plus an additional 4. I think the way it reads in ordinance is double the amount of bedrooms plus 4. I just look at it as 2 people per bedroom plus an additional 4. So that's how we come up with the 10 based on that. And that's the exact same way as is worded in our regulations as well. Here is a floor plan of the proposed house. I know the applicant and their counsel can give you a much more information and detail on the history of this structure and what they intend to do with these spaces. But this is the floor plan. You can see the 3-bedroom locations within this house. If granted the conditional use permit, the owner must comply with all of those operating requirements and standards that are outlined in those short-term rental property regulations. Now, in this case, the city of Grange does issue their own short-term rental permit, so all of that will fall under the purview of them and their code enforcement officer. The one I did want to note, though, is parking, because this was a question that got brought up at the city of Grange because there is no driveway parking at this location. And so the way the ordinance reads is that parking shall be provided on the same property in which the short-term rental is located. Parking on the street is not allowed unless the short-term rental has no driveway, alley, or other means of vehicular parking. And so the short-term rental in this case does plan to use on-street parking, which is right around it. I think a few of these pictures you'll be able to see where parking is located directly around this building. And then just a few pictures here to close on showing the property.
Brian, is that area, that last picture, that area there to the right of the tree by the fence is what the city calls pull-off parking?
Yeah,
And it's specifically allowed for parking?
correct.
Under the Grange parking ordinance. We
Yep.
just had that come up recently.
And then I believe you're going to see the picture here in the front. Well, you can see where our code enforcement officer is parked as well when he took these photos. So there's also parking directly there in front of the building as well. So in conclusion, the potential conditions of approval for you all to look at, the conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the October 21st, and that should be Grange Board of Adjustments public hearing. The applicant shall comply with all the regulations concerning short-term rental properties outlined in the Grange ordinance, as well as ordinance code 119.20. We have been putting this, the third condition of approval in ours for the county, and if you all want to continue to do that as well with the city, is that the conditional use permit shall be automatically revoked upon transfer or sale of the property. So we've been doing that with any short-term rentals as well as like home occupation, so that, because we will do a certificate of land use that'll be filed in the deed room, and typically those certificate of land use restrictions run with the property. So in these cases, though, we want them to be revoked upon transfer or sale so that the next owner just can't come in and operate a short-term rental under the radar. So we have been putting number 3 in there. And then number 4, the applicant shall apply for and be issued a short-term rental property permit or license by the city of LaGrange before renting their property. And with that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll entertain those.
Any questions for Ryan? There being none, thank you, sir.
I think we should let you off the hook because you didn't make a mistake. I think we passed this law after you probably told them what they said.
No, it actually
No?
wasn't. It was, but yeah. But I was just thinking they mimicked each other almost exactly, but that one little conditional.
Little nuance.
It won't happen again, though, trust me.
All righty. At this time, we ask the applicant to come present. If you please state your name and address, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Edgar, and Mr. Craig Mile, good morning. My name is Mike Swansburg. I'm with the law firm of Swansburg and Smith here at 117 West Main Street in LaGrange. And I have the honor and pleasure of representing Cornell Property LLC, which is the owners of the property that we're going to talk very briefly with you all about this morning. I do have a presentation that I want to just share with you all. Okay, so much of what I'm going to talk about, quite frankly, is going to be similar to what Mr. Fisher's already said, but I think a lot of it is important for you all in terms of reaching a conclusion on this front. What we're asking, of course, as Mr. Fisher indicated, is a conditional use permit related to a short-term rental property at 109 South Walnut Avenue. On this screen here, it's the little green section highlighted down there. You've already seen it on a couple of maps that Mr. Fisher provided for you. As I get through this, with one thing I want to go ahead and dispel as part of this particular project is any concern about what folks might have with short-term rental properties generally. And so a lot of people think short-term rental, oh no, you're going to have this property that's going to kind of get left behind, for example, property values may go down, right? That's a lot of the concern that we hear from individuals who have short-term rental properties around them, particularly out in less populated areas of the county or elsewhere outside of Oldham County, quite frankly. And I want to go ahead and talk with you all at some point about this and show you that this has really been a significant labor of love and, quite frankly, a significant financial investment by the owners to make it a high-end short-term rental property opportunity here in the city of LaGrange. Again, as a lawyer, I always like to talk about what's the guiding standard or what ordinances or legal precedent may be applicable here. As we've already talked about, the LaGrange Ordinance Code, Section 119.20, which is the relatively new ordinance for short-term rental properties, provides that a party may apply for a short-term rental conditional use permit within a CN zoned property. And as we are, excuse me, the new ordinance also provides that a non-owner occupied host short-term rental property within a CN zone may be eligible for a conditional use permit only if the owner resides in Oldham County or within 25 miles of the property. And Mr. Fisher's talked about that. I will reiterate it here in a minute as well. Again, you've seen exterior photos of the property itself. And as we talked about, the zone classification for the property was recently changed to community neighborhood as recently as the 7th of October, with the city of LaGrange passing an ordinance to approve that zoning change. Just for everyone's benefit, again, the Oldham County Planning Commission unanimously approved this request, understanding that this was the ultimate goal for this property by a vote of 12-0 back on July 23rd, 2024. And then again, the LaGrange City County, which is not actually the city county, it's the city council. But as I was trying to put this together last night, I misspelled council and put county instead. I apologize for that. Actually voted to approve it unanimously on October 7th as well. The purpose of changing the zoning classification and its application Just for everyone's benefit, the CN designation generally applies to, quote, promote the reuse of structures located in urban areas of Oldham County that have been constructed for mixed commercial and residential use, which may be currently underused or vacant, and which are located at street corners or on blocks with significant number of retail business uses. That's Oldham County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 140.010. This is exactly the type of property that we are talking about in this type of designation. It sits one block off Main Street here in LaGrange. It does sit on, it happens to sit on a corner lot as well, but it is entirely and very conveniently accessible by individuals just that one block off the retail and restaurant section of LaGrange. Just for everyone's benefit as well, I like to talk about, to the extent necessary, how it might adhere generally to the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan overall. And that is, for example, Land Use Objective LU-2-1 identifies the goal of encouraging new mixed-use development in addition to existing mixed-use centers and planned unit developments. And as I've already mentioned, this is going to recognize this proposal is a mixed-use property that will combine a short-term rental with a public museum, which I'll get into here in a second. In addition to that is LU-3-1, which provides the proposal should, quote, support existing business retention and growth compatible with adjacent land uses and the availability of community facilities and services. And again, as I mentioned, this is just going to be one block off of Main Street here in LaGrange and will help to support the existing businesses in downtown LaGrange by providing an attractive spot for visitors to stay right off that Main Street corridor as well. How's the property going to be used? You've seen exterior pictures of the building. This is the interior of the property. Again, this is the work that Don and Marcia Cornell have put into this property to make it an attractive location for individuals here in LaGrange. Again, the pictures are very nice in and of themselves. I cannot tell you how much the pictures do not do the property justice, though. If you ever have an opportunity to go into the property and take a look and see the work that they have done to make this an attractive location, I would highly encourage you to reach out to them and do so. It is a phenomenal property inside, and if you are going to be a person who hopefully, upon approval, would end up staying here, you're going to be very fortunate to have a very nice property to stay at here in LaGrange. Again, those are not photoshopped or off the internet. Those are actual photos from the inside of the house. So we talked a little bit about the short-term rental, but also for your benefit too, the Cornells have talked about using this as a mixed use and combining some of the original property as a museum for the public. This is a portion of the house that actually is going to be, at a longer-term vision for them, going to be used for that purpose. It is going to highlight and showcase the original 1840s flooring, as well as some of the fixtures, for example, on the doors, door locks, et cetera, that have been around since the Civil War. All of this is going to be part of that museum just from an aesthetic perspective. And so I wanted to make sure we included photos in there that showed you all what it is that they're planning to do in addition to the short-term rental property. Again, that's not what we're asking for you to prove necessarily, but I'm just showing you to illustrate kind of the overall intent of the property and how much effort and time the Cornells have put into this. As we already indicated, Don and Marcia Cornell live less than 10 miles away from the property, so they do fall within that 25-mile or Oldham County requirement for a community neighborhood request. And as I mentioned before, the applicants plan to keep part of the home maintained as a public museum, again, showing some of that original work and also sharing the story of two of its most famous residents, songwriter Buddy Pepper. And there's a sign just outside that talks about Mr. Pepper. And I actually misspelled his name, and I apologize to everyone for that, but also USS Indianapolis sailor Howard Strawn, who was killed in action as part of the USS Indianapolis tragedy toward the end of World War II, was also a resident of the house. And the Cornells can talk a little bit more about some of the fun things that they've been able to uncover as part of the renovation of this house. But again, part of the museum idea would be to highlight two of these famous residents. And just for everyone's benefit, it has received public support from Donna Saba, who is the executive director of LaGrange Tourism and Convention. She actually spoke out in favor of the proposal at the LaGrange City Council meeting just a couple of weeks ago. So again, just a summary for everybody. We are respectfully asking the Board of Adjustments to approve the request for a short-term rental conditional use permit to allow the applicants to use the parcel located at 109 South Walnut Avenue as a short-term rental property consistent with both the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan and the Grange Ordinance Code. And that is all I have presentation-wise. Again, otherwise I could spend a lot of time just rehashing what Mr. Fisher's already done, but he always does a great job doing it, so I don't see any need to do that. Again, I'm also available for any questions, and the Cornells are here if you all have any questions as well. But otherwise, I'll stop talking and let you all do that.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. What is meant by the phrase short-term rental? Who is the short-term rental?
Who is the short-term?
Yeah, who makes a,
renter?
is that like someone that moves into the community and needs a place to stay till they buy a house? Is that a visitor, a tourist? What? I'm just curious.
Are you talking about specifically this or just in a general sense?
No, for this, who's the target
Well,
audience?
do you want to talk about who your target audience is?
It's based.
Marcia, could you state your name and
Okay,
address,
yeah.
and both you and Don at the same time?
Yeah. Marcia Cornell, 1219 Weibel Road, owner of this property.
Yeah, and I'm Don Cornell, and I'm a resident here too, and also the owner of the property.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it'll be under 30 days as a short-term rental. And anybody coming to town that just needs short-term business or private, so.
So in theory, with the short-term side and that 30-day limit on, John Doe, the executive, could be doing work here and he could come in and sign an agreement with you all to rent the property for 30 days, maybe leave town, come back a couple of days later, and he can rent it for another
Correct,
30
yes,
days, correct?
correct,
But it's
yep.
in 30-day blocks.
Correct. Yep.
It's basically going to be under 30 days. I think we're going to have a three-day minimum stay. You know,
Yeah.
we don't want riffraff in there.
Right,
I mean,
right.
the place has a lot of money put into it, and I don't want it destroyed. So,
yeah.
Very attractive property, for sure.
You should come over, Keith.
I stuck my nose in once, but have
Oh,
not
did you?
actually gotten the executive
Oh,
tour
okay,
yet.
yeah.
Not
Let
that I'm
us
an
know.
executive or anything, but, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, anxious to see it.
it's great.
That answer your question, Al?
I was just going to add, I live on Washington Street, 2 blocks from your house.
Oh, I didn't
So I have it's taken forever to get it finished.
Yeah.
But it's been great to see it get done. It looks terrific.
Yeah,
long haul.
oh, yeah, it has.
well, we are thinking about having an open house. We haven't decided how to go about that yet, but, yeah. So we'd like to have at least one day so people who wanted to see it can come in and see it. So.
I suggest nice little snacks, beverages.
No, we actually had that worked out. There was just a week ago, they had a
Barbecue.
little barbecue thing
Yeah.
down. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But the people who won that, it was just, there wasn't a whole lot of people there. So, but he had the most coins at the end of the night. But I talked to him. I said, you know, if we do have an open house, will you all be willing to come from Lexington, where you all live? He said, yeah, we'll come back. We'll come out here and do that. If that comes about, just give me a call.
He
Awesome.
has to get the permits.
Yeah. So, but of course, yeah. I'm not pulling the cart before the
Right,
horse.
right,
So.
right. I got you.
Can I ask about the museum part?
Yes, sir.
Looking at the floor plan, I don't see anything designated museum area or,
The front
The-
part
the-
of the building, you're able to close off that,
that front little room there.
That
that's,
front room.
That's on 109
Yeah.
with
there's a hallway.
leaded glass door and all that.
Yeah.
There's a hallway right there, kind of like a,
Mm-hmm.
and then right next to it is the room with the fireplace.
Okay.
Did you see the
Yeah.
fireplace?
Which
That's where.
is bedroom 3.
Yep,
Okay.
for now. Now, it's gonna take a while, because we're trying to make some money back
Yeah.
after spending so much money before we're able to actually put everything together and make that
Yes.
happen, so.
We tried to save as much as we could of the originality of that house, but it just wasn't going to be. We actually had to take flooring from other parts of the house just to get the flooring in the other room.
Enough flooring for the
Yeah,
first
it was an ungodly amount of money to make that happen. But we were able to, like, they all have the original doors, even the front door is original. All the interior doors are original. All the trim work is original. We couldn't save the ceiling because there was a ceiling underneath of the ceiling. So it was just the floors had to be torn up just to shore up. We had to put like 8 piers total in the house, inside the house, concrete piers to shore up the flooring inside the house. So we were able to do just that one room to do it. It has all the original Civil War locks on them. The porcelain knobs are all original to the house. So, and the floors were refinished. They're beautiful floors. They're poplar floors, which is of the era, which was the floor of the floor choice of at the time. So,
If we do the museum, then that becomes a 2-bedroom house?
it would
Yes.
become a 2-bedroom
Yeah.
house. That's
And the
correct.
occupancy would change from 10 to 8?
Yep.
Yes.
For
Is that
sure.
right? Is that
Yeah.
right? It'd be 10 to 8, which we never really want to have 10 people in that house anyway.
Yeah.
I don't even want 8 people in that house at the same time. I don't even want 6 people in that house. So,
You can't go.
I understand that. I truly understand it. And if we do the museum, and I'm just making comments, I'm not on any other board or whatever, but I think you have to have 2 means of egress in a property. So right now, that front door is the egress, the second egress out of that building. So if you close that off to a museum, then you might somebody might want you to put another exit door in the residence.
yeah. So we had thought about that.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
but
just-
there's
I'm
also other
talking.
issues. Like I don't know if any of this stuff is grandfathered in, considering the house was built in 1845. But there's a stoop on the front. There's no handicap. There's no handicap access to the front of that house. So I don't even know how it would work. I did express my concerns when we were all the way through during this process, that we weren't going to charge to open up. We're not trying to make money on the museum part of it, right? But that wasn't my concern. My concern was what your concern is that I don't have handicap accessibility in front of a house that really is not even, I don't even know if you could put one there. It's not big enough or wide enough to do that. So I don't
have to
even
have a
know.
big ramp.
I don't know how I would love to open it up as a museum. I just don't know how, I want to make sure that our liability is zero going into that, because I'm not charging people to go in there and look at that, right? So I don't want to have that.
That was just a comment.
I understand. It's a good comment too. I wish I could give, so if you have any ideas about how I can get around that.
I have no ideas about that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, railings, a railing.
Yeah, the railing's not a big deal, but,
That's probably all we
Thank
can
you.
do.
yeah, okay.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? I must now ask, are there anybody here opposed to this? It does not appear, but you have to ask, so. There being none, I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions of us, Don or Marcia?
No,
Okay, all right.
thank you for,
You're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
All righty.
Thanks.
All righty. Any closing items for the applicant, sir?
Mr. Chairman, just real brief again, I appreciate everyone being here this morning, asking excellent questions about the property, about short-term rental properties, generally speaking. Like I said, this has been as Mr. Fisher has indicated already, this has been a pretty long process for us at this point. You all, to the best of our knowledge and fingers crossed, are the last administrative body in which the Cornell property has to go in front of in order to get an approval of some kind before they can proceed with this idea of theirs. So again, we appreciate your time this morning, appreciate your consideration, and we just respectfully ask again that you all approve this request. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. So I believe then, after discussion, if there needs to be any further discussion amongst the board, that there needs to be either a motion to approve or a motion to deny the application for the short-term conditional use permit that's going to allow the proper integration of this into our community here in LaGrange. Go ahead, Ryan.
And I'll just say, since we don't meet fairly often, so if you go to page 2 in your staff report, you will see there the conditional use permit, and then we have motions to either approve or deny. Along with, we want to make sure that we add in there the potential conditions of approval that we listed there. There's 4 of them on page 3. I just wanted to make those notes for you.
Right. And along with the date of today's date, everything be considered only from this meeting, right? That's where we are, gentlemen, so I will await a motion for whatever is your pleasure.
I move to approve the conditional use because of the proposed use is essential or is desirable, to the community and not in conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Based on granting the conditional use permit will allow proper integration into the community of a use specifically named in the zoning regulation. So moved.
We also need to add the potential conditions of this approval. Also, if you look further down in there under the bold heading, some of the potential conditions of that approval, we can mention some of those. One of them is going to be this date. The only things could be considered is those items that were presented on October 21st, 2024. And there is I think Ryan mentioned it, or somebody did, instead of Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, it would be LaGrange Board of Adjustments instead of Oldham County in there. All the other items down here should be listed, and I believe they are. I'll go ahead and mention it into the motion that the applicant shall apply for and be issued short-term rental property permit license by City of LaGrange before renting the property. That, of course, goes through, I believe, LaGrange City Code Enforcement. Is that correct? Yes. So Stephanie Winther there at City Hall would be the one that would take care of those items.
I accept all 4 of those items as a part of my motion.
All righty, so we have a motion.
You might want to make a specific finding, Al, that they do live within 25 miles of the site.
Okay.
That's really the only reason we're here today, is because to
Okay.
find out if they're within 25 miles. And that's one of the primary reasons.
Beach, how would I phrase that in a way that's appropriately lawyer?
We find that the applicant lives within 25 miles of the site.
I accept that as a part of my motion.
All right. Any other additions to that motion other than all the aforementioned? All right. So we have a first. I need a second on everything that was just mentioned. We have a second on the motion on the floor. All in favor of proceeding with this motion for a conditional use short-term rental permit?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed, say nay. There being none, motion passes, and we thank you very much. Beautiful property. Look forward to the tour and the open house.
Thank you.
We have one other order of business, and that is the approval of the minutes of August 19th, 2024. If you could take a look at those. There was also mention of the approval of September KIPTA training credits. Where was that at in here?
That'll be the next thing. Do the minutes first.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. got the minutes first. Any problems with the minutes? All righty. Motion on the floor to approve the minutes. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? There being none, motion passes to approve the minutes of August 19, 2024. Go right ahead, sir.
So now just real quick on the approval of the September KIPTA training credits. Your chairman attended a KIPTA training session for 6 hours of training on September 17th. I know I sent all that notice out to everybody, but typically what we do with any outside training is we just get the board to make sure you all are okay with him attending that, and then we can put those training credits in his file. But usually with our Oldham County Board, we typically have everybody make a motion for anything that's outside like that. So just a simple motion by voice vote will work, and then we'll give Mr. Smith his training credits that I'm sure he so wishes he could get. Well, no, I've already got hers.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah.
Oh, didn't get me? Okay, gotcha. All right.
So-
Motion to approve the training credits for,
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion passes. Anybody else? Any other business?
I just kind of wanted to, it's kind of new business, let everybody know that in the past couple of years, we've been putting more and more discretionary powers in the hands of the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. Not just for the normal conditional use permits or for variances, which is what you do most of the time, but also for your appellate powers, the Board of Adjustments and Appeals. And so, one of the things that has recently been added to your repertoire, in addition to this conditional use permit for short-term rentals, which we were concerned about out-of-towners coming in here and buying investments and stuff, so we wanted to create some sort of stopgap where somebody here, some entity here, could step in and make a decision as to rather primarily about where the folks are coming from. But the other thing that we've got sort of news is the Board of Adjustments has been given the power to make decisions on the location of the medicinal marijuana clinic when it comes here, okay? Because it is a conditional use also. And there's possibly one could come here to Grange, maybe two, what is there, 7 in the 7-3 county area or so, whatever. We might have one in Oldham County. And most of the cities have said they don't want them, but LaGrange has said they're okay with state law, they're okay here. So, but where it is located is ultimately a decision that this board will make. Likewise, a couple of years ago, there were some errors in the historic districts ordinance, which gave judicial authority to the city council to make decisions on historical district matters. Like, for example, if the Historic District Commission denies a person's ability to fix up their property, or they do some arbitrary and capricious requirement that they have to rebuild the whole front end of their house for cost of maybe $20,000, and they don't have it, and that person appeals, where do they go? They go to this body. So this body has the appellate power, and this body also has the appellate power for basically any decision that is made by the administration of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Not by the commission itself. They go to circuit court, okay, but by administrative bodies. So if, Ryan makes a mistake, which he has admitted that he has made at least one mistake in his life, we would decide whether it would be overturned or not. And so, do y'all think you have a pretty good grasp on what you're supposed to be doing here? I know we haven't had any formal training, Al and Joe and everybody, but do do you all have a training program, or is it gonna be up to me?
No, and I don't know if we want to close the meeting first and then we can talk about this afterwards, but really we've looked at, just real briefly, looked at doing more actual training with you all. Problem is you all don't meet that often, so that may be something to where we have to get you in, because sometimes there's months and months where you all don't necessarily have a hearing. But we definitely want to look at that with all of our boards, trying to get a little bit better in training and getting you all training that actually deals with our regulations and stuff that happens here within the county, so. But I don't know if we want to close the meeting and we can talk about all
I
that.
agree with that. And I have a couple of questions regarding it, but I would like to go ahead and,
Well, it's all part of the meeting. I
Is
mean,
it?
This is a meeting, we have meetings, and then we have a
Okay.
public hearing portion of the meeting,
okay,
which is over with, because you closed that.
right.
And so it's, the public
Right.
portion of it's over, we're just in our meeting now.
Well, then I think I certainly could use some additional, especially if we start moving in. I don't know how soon this medical marijuana thing comes to play, sometime
Well,
first
they're
of the year?
supposed to be able to open up January,
Okay.
but no, from my understanding, there was like, what, 14,000 applications or something?
Yeah, there was a great deal. Anna and I were presented with some information about that at 147 training, and it was staggering. And I thought, good gosh, to make that kind of jingles off of just the application, what was it, 4,000 something for 48 for 48 applications, and there was a sizable amount of
That's
money
state-
there.
Is that for statewide?
Yeah, 40, that's what I understand,
Wonder if we
48.
know how many have applied for our district. Do you-
I have no idea.
Okay. We're mixed in with Jefferson County and Trumbull, Henry, and
Yeah,
Carroll, I think, and maybe Shelby.
right. But that's something we could see within the next several months, you think, then?
Yeah, I would think, I mean, it's really kind of a circular logic. I mean, to apply to the state, you're supposed to say where your office is gonna be. Well, how are you gonna know where your office is gonna be if Crestwood says you can't do it here? Pee Wee Valley says you can't do it here. LaGrange, as of last week, says you can do it here. But we don't know where. Okay, what we've said is, it can't be in a residential area or across the street from a residential area. So, it can be in any commercial area. We specifically avoided trying to place it into zones, like zone R4, I6, or I2, or whatever, anyways. It just has to be we just use the words residential or commercial.
Okay.
Ryan, Scott?
If I may add
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
I would, if you all want to move toward more training, I would hope that that would be voluntary. I do not feel like I have any trouble keeping up with what's going on, and nobody's indicated to me that I don't understand. And I'm not looking for more training.
Right. Now, the only reason why I would say that is the state law requires that you all get 8 hours of continuing education every 2 years. So typically we do that very informally, or we can go to training like Mr. Smith did, where you go and get 6 hours in one lump sum somewhere. But technically KRS requires that everybody that serves on a Board of Adjustments or Planning Commission gets 8 hours of continuing education every 2 years within something. We've even got a YouTube video site that's with a planning organization that we send, and a lot of our members will do those, sit there and watch a YouTube video for an hour and then send me those videos, and I'll plug them into your thing. But it prevents anybody from coming to questioning anybody who may not have gotten their training. So we like to keep those records pretty accurate. And if we can offer that training then with something simple as a half hour, an hour after a meeting, to go over a topic that's of concern. And I think medicinal cannabis, when it comes starting in January, will be something that we can maybe look at doing training on. I think short-term rentals is an area that we could, definitely do some training on. There's a bunch of different ideas we've got, and then also we're going to try to solicit your all's input as well on things that you all might want to see us do something on. So yeah, but that's the reason why we're not telling you have to do the training. Pretty much the state law is saying that you have to. So.
All right, well, I'm good on all that, and maybe we can communicate that and some other ideas down the road via email and the like to all those on the board, just as a reminder that as of right this moment, everything that we've been talking about is still being recorded. So if there's not any more business, I'd like to accept a motion to adjourn. I have a motion to adjourn. Need a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a third and a fourth. And so all in favor of meeting adjourning? Aye. Anybody opposed? There being none, motion's passed. Meeting is adjourned.